Mr. Bob West.
Welcome to the Stiff Truth. I'm Bob West. I'm here with my best friend, Scott Casanova, and we welcome you to the show. We've got a lot of things to talk about today. We really had a different show planned, but in light of the week that we've all had, we decided to change it up and address and change our topics for this issue. So welcome to the show, and how you doing, Scott?
I'm doing okay, Bob. Things kind of went up a notch over this last week. You're absolutely right, man. I mean, we had a really, really fun topic planned, but it just didn't seem right to have that conversation today. I think we're going to have to address some of the, I guess, the elephant in the country right now to a certain extent. But other than that, if you want to talk about how I'm personally doing, I'm doing okay. I mean, fun little thing. My daughter is almost 6, and as a reward for sleeping in her own bed throughout the night for a series of nights, we've been having a reward system of getting things that eventually will manifest to having a bearded dragon. We started out with a book about bearded dragons and how to take care of them. 5 more nights. We got the tank. Long story short, this weekend, we got the little guy. He's adorable. He's just this little tiny guy, you know, got little spikes everywhere. She's wanting to call him Spikes right now. She was calling him Louie before. I'm not sure what his name is yet. Cool little guy, though. I've been watching him eat crickets. I think I spent Friday night just having cocktails and standing over his tank, just kind of laughing and fucking around with him. So that was pretty cool.
It's fun watching them eat crickets, right? They eat them and they look like a Muppet.
They really do.
They do.
Yeah. And they're fast little fuckers too. I mean, goddamn. I was wondering, like, hey, is that too many crickets? And then the little dude eats like 5 in a row real quick. You're like, whoa, he just ripped off that one's head. That was fucking vicious. Good
yeah,
stuff,
they'll save them for later too. They're
pretty,
yeah.
They're
pretty fun. Daring used to have one.
Yeah. So she hasn't even seen him yet because she's been visiting grandma and grandpa down in Albuquerque, and she comes back here in a few hours. She's driving back with her mom right now. So exciting stuff.
I will have to say this: stay on the cage thing because they are cute, but man, they are much stinkier than you would think.
And they're really fast, I've noticed too. Like if I'm sure if I let him out, I mean, you know, I've got 3 cats and 2 dogs, so I'm sure it'll be dead very quickly if he doesn't like run somewhere like and hide. But yeah, I also noticed too that, you know, I didn't even know this. You got to wash your hands every time after you touch them because they have salmonella, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, they do taste like chicken, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And I wanted to do the thing where I put them in my mouth and lick them. I thought maybe I'd start tripping or something like that. But I forgot that was a certain type of frog in the, like, I don't even know where that is, the Amazon or something like that. Nothing to do with desert lizards like bearded dragons. So good thing I didn't go down that road and potentially get pretty fucking sick. You know what I mean? So there's that. How about you, Bob?
Congratulations to you. That is a tremendous feat. So your life is looking up.
Yeah, plus the little one's sleeping in her bed like all the time now, which really
that's the part I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was excited about too. Is me and Jamie now can actually sleep in the bed together and not have you know, always have a little kid in there. Kind of puts a damper on certain things here and there.
No, I 100% understand where you're coming from. One thing I did is because mine likes to wake up and then come upstairs, so I put a camera with night vision with 2-way radio in her room so that I can just like glance and make sure she's sleeping or not. If she's up and it's too late, I can just hit the button and be like, go to bed. And she goes to bed, or she'll wake up and be like, Dad, and I'll look at the time. It's like 6:30. I'll just hit the button and be like, come upstairs. So as you can tell, I'm still phlegmy, but getting better. So congratulations. That's a game changer right there. So that is exciting news, and I'm happy for you both.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
From the bottom of my heart, personally know how that feels.
Yes. I knew you would understand, Bob. How are you doing though? I mean, outside of, I could just say, a hellacious week we've had. But I mean, personally, how are we doing?
Well, I'm doing better. My bronchial AIDS is improving. So, funny story. I
knew it. You have AIDS. I always thought you did, and now he finally comes out and said, "Did I misinterpret that?"
No.
Oh,
100%. I've been battling my bronchitis, as everyone knows, and it was getting better, and I did my antibiotics or whatever. But then it started getting worse. In the last few days, it was just getting worse. So finally, yes, or two nights ago, I did telemed with the doc again at like 10 o'clock at night, and just kind of explained everything that's happening. It's like getting worse, and he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, let's put you on a steroid." So I'm like, cool. Is it going to be the cream? Is it going to be the clear? Do I need to get my pump on when I get this? Am I going to take advantage of this? And I need some back knee and some rage. Is what's going on here?
Your anabolic steroids. That seems odd, but I'm game.
Right? So I was like, take this, shoot in your ass cheek before you pump iron, and your cough will go away. So
sounds strange, but I'm not gonna debate.
So I went and picked that up a couple of days ago, and I've been on it for 2 days of a 5-day regimen, and I'm actually getting a lot better. So why they didn't put me on that right away, I have no idea.
I thought you were already on. Maybe I heard wrong though. Weren't you on some kind of steroid initially too? And they gave you the Z-Pack and all that stuff.
Well, I thought there was a steroid in my inhaler, but it turns out it's just like a
Lysol,
a fallopian tube opener. I don't know. It's just like a bronchial tube opener. It's just like, I don't know. So it wasn't a steroid though. So whatever. Bottom line is, I think there's a light at the end of my tunnel now, but we'll see. So doing much better. Other than that, we've been, hanging out at home, trying to stay away. I know we have our meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and after our Sunday show, we met on Tuesday and we talked. Now the video had just come out of George Floyd at that point, but it was just a video. There were no violence and protests and everything yet, and so we had planned our show, and then in between then and Thursday, we already started talking about is this something that we're gonna have to talk about because things are getting worse. But then on like Thursday night, gas really hit the fire, right? And then Friday night, it's hitting the fire all over the country. So obviously we met before the show and kind of changed some things up, and it is something that we need to talk about. And we'll get there, but first, there's a couple of other things that we originally wanted to talk about, and I want to get there first and get those out of the way.
Let's not scrap the entire playbook. I mean, we did alter it and pretty much flip some of the show on its head, but let's still stay. What did Bush always say a lot about staying the course? Wasn't he always saying we got to stay the course? Stay the course.
I think it was Dana Carvey playing Bush that said you got to stay the course, because George Bush Sr. said it one time.
Okay. Well, for some reason, I feel like that's one of his famous quotes. But yeah, let's stay the course a little bit here. And I think we went over this briefly in the last show, didn't we? Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. Or was it
Tyson's comeback?
Yeah. There's been some grumblings here of who his opponents might be. Have you seen all this?
I have, and there's a fairly long list. It's all kind of speculation right now because I haven't seen anything definitive, but I have seen some stories that are popping up more than others. Right. At first, we talked about on the show. At first, we thought it was going to be Holyfield,
which makes the most sense, right?
It would make perfect sense.
Yeah, part 3, right? There you go.
More and more goes out. It looks like Tito actually agreed to a fight, and I'm talking about Tito Ortiz. For any of you know the MMA, the history of MMA. He was a badass, like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, he's no spring chicken either. I think if I'm correct, he's 45.
Yeah, and he retired in his, late 30s? I mean, he did it for a long time.
MMA fighters should probably do a little bit beforehand. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because he started getting knocked out like Roy Jones. I mean, someone needs to tell you when to retire. You shouldn't have to go find out in the ring. That's the way it always is.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, but so Tito, that'd be an interesting one, man. And I've thought about that a little bit too. I think it really depends on the venue, which, I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy, but I mean, here's me. Anybody besides a boxer goes into a boxing ring with boxing rules with Mike Tyson, I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose, not even very entertaining wise. Maybe if they step into a boxing ring and have a different set of rules that are maybe a little bit advantageous to the opponent and not Mike, or he steps into more of an MMA setting, then I'm kind of up in the air about it. That's why I kind of like the Tito thing.
See, I think I just picture it being a boxing match more like Mayweather-McGregor again, because I think it's too much to send a boxer into an MMA match because of all the years of training, the grappling and the jiu-jitsu and everything that goes down. If you get on the ground, it very may well could be over, because traditional boxer, how are they going to know to protect themselves against certain types of bars on the ground? And it would be highly entertaining if Tyson slips to the ground in 20 seconds and Tito has him in like a wrist bar. Like it's over. Like,
well, and again,
suck, right?
We talked about this, so wow, good. You got him in like you got him in a lock. You're the winner. You would have killed Mike Tyson on the street. And I don't think that's really representative of what would happen. But you're right. I think what would be the most interesting and maybe give a little bit of edge to everybody is no grappling, get in the fucking boxing ring, no gloves at all. So that kind of, I think that's, I don't know. I'm interested to see if that's an advantage to Mike or a disadvantage, honestly. And maybe throw in that you can use your legs too, but no grappling. And once you get on the ground,
like Brad Pitt and Snatch, just
yes,
just bare knuckle boxing and with a little bit of rules.
Almost like when they cut the glass stuff off his hands in Kickboxer when he fights Tom Paul. Almost like that match. I think that would be interesting, but not as much kicking. That's too much.
I don't think anyone would have as much kicking. There's no slow-mo triple cams. So just show the same kick like 4 times and he looks amazing. It's the fastest kicker I've ever seen.
Well, I always thought the glutes were impressive on those, but yeah, absolutely. I don't know, man. So yeah, you'd have to have some kind of hybrid setting, I guess. That would be the most fair, right? Because I think you're right. I think you put him in a boxing match. Tito's a pretty thick guy, though, right?
He's a big guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty thick guy. But again, I think if you put him in there with boxing rules against Mike Tyson, now all of a sudden the age difference is not that big of a deal. We're looking 53 to 45. It's not huge. Probably Tito has taken just as much damage to his body and his head as Mike Tyson in the ring. You know what I mean?
So to put it in perspective, George Foreman won an actual heavyweight title in his late 40s.
Sure.
Against current professionals. So to be in your early 50s to go fight someone that's not a boxing professional, I would say that there's still a very high likelihood of an entertaining fight there.
Yeah, very entertaining. Very entertaining. So, but there's been some other people I've heard too. You just mentioned Roy Jones Jr. He's kind of in the mix of people are talking about it. You got Lennox Lewis. I'm not even sure who some of these other guys are, but I think some of the other guys here are some MMA fighters. And you got Conor McGregor. Let's just go ahead and throw that one out right out of the gate. I don't think, even though he's very, very, I don't know, he's very good. He's infamous, I guess you would say, as an MMA fighter. But I don't think he's going to be able to step into a boxing ring and do anything.
Well, it all depends on what they're after. I mean, if they're after making $100 million, then maybe.
No, then you won already. Like, you just accept the fight and hop in there.
That was the purse for Mayweather McGregor was about $100 million. I think Conor got like 30 of it. Like 70-30.
I tell you what, I knew it was going to happen, but I honestly wanted Conor to get in there and just surprise everybody.
Just some sort of flash knockout.
Like jumping fucking punch, just some jumping punch, dude. Like, and just take him out like in the first round while he's dancing around like a fucking idiot. Because don't get me wrong, Floyd Mayweather, probably the best defensive boxer of all time. But we talked about this earlier.
Many experts agree with you there.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier, though. Just because you're the best defensive player, I think the more defensive of a boxer you are without a very, very, I guess, just aggressive offense, it's just really boring to watch.
Well, dude, it's in all sports. Nobody likes defense. Nobody does. I mean, go watch a baseball game that's like 1-0. Yeah, it's a pitcher's duel, and like baseball fans, like true hardcore traditionalists,
they love that shit.
They love those pitchers battles and all that. But the rest of the casual fans can't stand it. Right? It's like watching a soccer match. No one wants to watch that. I mean, here in America.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say the rest of the world does.
The rest of the world does, but not here in America. Same in football. I mean, you get the best defenses in the game. But who wants to actually sit through a 7-3 game? It's terrible. It's terrible to watch. It's a fantastic enthusiast, traditionalist way to look at something. It's, people that know the intricate details of what's actually happening are into it. But for the casual fan, it sucks. And the same with boxing. People don't like a 12-round match where it's like one person wins by 1 point.
And
boxing enthusiasts love it.
Yeah, again, like you were just talking, a lot of experts agree. Like, even the McGregor Floyd match, dude, I was like, he's dancing around. way too much. He's not even like trying to hit him. He's literally just blocking a couple of things, maybe doing a couple jabs here and there to get points. It's one of the most painful things to watch when you're ready to watch a fucking fight. You know what I mean? You're like, fight already, let's go.
Yeah, and Mayweather will say, well, I didn't want to knock him out right away. And it's like, Mayweather, you ain't knocking anybody out.
Yeah,
I mean, we've all watched your fights, buddy.
Yeah,
if you can't knock like a 43-year-old Pacquiao out, then you can't knock anyone
seriously. And Pacquiao like weighs less than me. I mean, like by like 30 pounds or something crazy like that. No, he is not a knockout artist. And that's why I was thinking during that fight, I was really hopeful. Again, the stars would have to totally align. But it's like McGregor just fucking come down with something nasty, because he is somebody that can knock people out definitely for his size. But no, didn't happen that way.
Well, we don't know who he's going to fight, but whoever he's going to fight, I'll tell you this. We'll be watching. We'll just keep an eye on Twitter to see. Someone will eventually post an official announcement at some point, and we'll have an idea of that.
Now, let me ask you this real quick. Last thing about this. Do you think Mike would turn down a fight with anybody with his kind of attitude that he has?
I don't think so. I mean,
no.
I don't think he would see a reason not to fight.
Well, I think he might even walk into certain death just because he thinks he can win.
Just because he's the reason that it's called the puncher's chance. Like, he is that guy. He's that guy that you can outbox him the whole time, and in the fourth round, you make a mistake, and you get hit in the jaw with just that nasty uppercut, and you're seeing stars, and his fight's over. And we've seen it happen over and over and over throughout his career. Like, you think true. It's like, oh, this guy's going to get the better of oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? I remember being I wasn't very upset because I've always been an Iron Mike fan, especially when I was a kid and everything. But there had been numerous pay-per-views in the late 80s, early 90s, and people spent like $50, $100 on some of that shit. And there's been a few fights where they're over in the first round, knockout by Tyson. I mean, that's awesome, but you have to think like all that money, like you have like this whole fucking party at your house, and then the fight's like 15 seconds. You're like, oh, wow, there we go.
Yeah, because you sit there and watch like 4 hours of undercards. Yeah. And then you get to the fight, and like 90 seconds later, you're like ushering people out the door.
Yo, what's this first fight? Is that a Komodo dragon versus a Kodiak bear? What the fuck is going on here?
Right, it's like a black widow and a scorpion, like put in the box.
Just, my point was just like a bunch of people you don't even fucking know, and then you get to the fucking main event, and it's like fucking okay, whoops, came in my pants. You know how it goes.
Yeah, oftentimes in the Tyson fight, it's very exciting, and then it leaves you unsatisfied. Jeez, I sound like my wife.
I was waiting for it. I wasn't going to say anything, and I thought maybe we'd move on. But anyways, I'm excited to see anybody fight Tyson. Like you said, we're going to be there to watch it. I kind of hope it's another boxer. But anyways, what do you think? Let's move on. We got some other things we want to talk about.
Yeah, we do. Some interesting things going on in the Twitterverse this week.
Well, I'll just go ahead and say this, and like free speech and kind of stuff. There's a lot going on right now.
Mm-hmm. So interesting thing is, what started all of it off was
wait, the president always being on Twitter and saying outlandish things.
Well, the bottom line is him having and using his Twitter account is problem number one, right? Probably not do that. They've been telling him, like his own advisors have been saying for years, like, stop doing that shit. You're fucking cutting off your nose to spite your face all the time.
Now, on the other side of the coin, though, it's his fucking right.
He can do whatever he wants. I mean, it's fucking America, right?
Twitter can take him off. They're a private business, right? Supposedly, they're a private business. They don't have any, he can go on. He can say whatever he wants.
Again. So, here's the interesting thing is, right, he posted something about mail-in ballots, which I mailed mine in last Thursday just to be that guy. Because I like being that guy. Anyway, and he said, mail-in ballots are consistent with fraud over the years, which, that's a fun talking point to say, but there's no more fraud in a mail-in ballot than there is in fraud in normal everyday voting ballots, as far as what I've been able to research up. There's just as many people that get caught cheating on elections as get caught cheating on elections. If you're going to cheat on an election, it doesn't matter if it's a mail-in or all the ballots end up in a box somewhere, no matter what, right?
See, I always found it easier to cheat on voting when I'm at the booth because I got one of those mirrors and I put it underneath my booth to the guy next to me, right? And I was like, "What? Hey,
what's the answer to Treasury?"
I was like, dude, what'd you put for the first one? Yeah, the really important one. What'd you do? Okay, cool. See, I can't do that when I mail it in, so I don't understand that. But anyway,
some guys over there doing this number. Like covering your sheets so you don't see.
Yeah. Anyways, please, I digress. Go ahead.
So he put that, and then Twitter felt the need to say, if you really want to know about mail-in ballot stuff, and they put a little like disclaimer link on the bottom of his tweet, which pissed him right off. Now here's the interesting part about that. Is there was a law passed in 1996, I want to say.
I'm not going to fact check it. I'm not going to put that little thing on your the bottom of your tweet right there. Don't even worry about it.
Oh, this law basically was social media sites were just starting to bud, and blog sites and this and that, and users would come and they would say something outlandish, and then people would want to sue them for like media, like reporting false media.
Well, not a media source, right? Is that what it said? The
law basically said we're going to exclude social media people and people that host individual users away from liabilities of the things that their user base says. So unlike if CNN or Fox News or whatever put some blatant fucking propaganda, without hiding it.
Hey, wait a minute. Can we not use CNN and Fox? I mean, I'm sure there's other examples of news outlets that do this all the time.
Yes, but none more polarizing.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So if we put that out there, they're responsible for the FCC because they're media. They're part of the Associated Press, yada, yada, yada.
Sure.
They would have to retract things if it was found out to be untrue and all of that. They'd have that obligation or face like heavy libel cases. So they decided in 96 that, and this was a bipartisan thing back in the day, that everyone was like, you know what, we're not going to hold these guys we're going to hold them, responsible for libel for what their people put in print on the internet, because then they would kill the platform and it would kill that, let's face it, billions of potential dollars that they were going to gain revenue in, and, stock market and going public and all that shit. So they did that to aid these social media companies, and they became giants, right? So it worked for them. That money starts funneling back into Congress. Fucking grand scheme works. But now, years later, so Trump is like, basically, and he has a right to say this, as, hey, you guys aren't a media company. If you're going to come on my shit and say that this isn't factual and start doing disclaimers, then you have to do that to everyone.
Wait, hold on. I'm so sorry, but you did say come on my shit. And can we just rewind for just a minute? Look, I'm interested in what you're saying. I want to learn about it, but that totally sidebarred me and sidetracked me, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, now that I'm not picturing anybody coming on anybody's shit. I'm so sorry. But no, Trump, he had the right to do this. He says, no, you can't do that to me.
So what he says is, I'm going to make an executive order saying that if you do that, you'll be exempted then from the 1996 agreement, and you'll be held responsible like any other news outlet.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a couple of things to this. A, is it enforceable? Is it going to end up in the Supreme Court? Probably. Whatever. Everything does, right? But B is, I believe this could really come back to bite Trump in the ass, because what if they do that and they do start fact checking and hold users responsible for what they're saying? Users will have to then start, making sure what they put up there is legit, or probably face their own lawsuits, right?
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing for me about that is, okay, yeah, if it could definitely backfire. They could say, you know what, we're going full bore on this. What they got to prove right out of the gate is that they're going to apply this fact check equally amongst all its member base. That's the first thing they have to do, because right now, and unfortunately, other social media sites like Facebook too, I've been a witness to it. I've had some of my shit taken down. That's not even conservative, but some things that are liberty based or whatever, or just aren't with the narrative of the people that run Facebook, they'll pull the shit off. Right. Or if it's against their, fucking decent, whatever, all this shit. And sometimes I'm like, how did this post get taken off there? It had nothing to do. It wasn't racy. It wasn't this. It wasn't political. So right now there's a large amount of people, at least from my understanding, that feel the censorship on social media right now, as it is, has been slanted towards the conservative base, or just the base that doesn't agree with certain agendas. So there's that. So I want to see that happen. I want to see that.
Well, they'd have to do some like actual studies and get numbers and have a system to oversight on all that anyway.
It sounds like a lot of extra work. Does Twitter want
like a lot of money?
Do they want to jump? Do they want to jump in that game just to go toe to toe at Trump? Because that's basically what they're doing.
No, I think what's going to happen right now is Trump's going to do whatever and put his executive order in, and they're going to do it again. They've already done it again since he's done that.
Yeah.
And then they're going to end up in civil litigation, and then they're going to suspend his account. That's guaranteed what's going to happen. And then it'll work its way to the Supreme Court, and then we'll see. If Trump gets reelected, it'll go on for probably the next year or so, right? Yeah. If not, it'll probably just go away, and they'll just leave his account suspended because, someone else would change the executive order or whatever. The interesting thing about this, though, Biden is also on record of abolishing that same law in 1996. So both candidates, actually, this is a bipartisan thing that a lot of people in politics think that law is dated and needs to be revisited. And it is. It's fucking 25 years old. Yes, the internet has maybe changed a little since 96. I no longer use Netscape Navigator.
Yeah, right?
So, maybe it should be relooked at and amended or changed and revoted on it.
I no longer have my Earthlink email address either. Oh, Jesus.
But somewhere I probably still have an AOL one.
I know I do too. God, those were the good old days. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, let's think about it too. It highly outdated. I don't think anybody, except for maybe some Nostradamus motherfuckers at that point, knew in 1996 that in 2020, the internet would pretty much rule the world. They didn't know that in the mid-90s. It was cute. It was fun. There was a lot of things we could do on it. Companies could have websites. People could look at porn, chat rooms. Oh, fun stuff. But it's grown into a whole new monster now. It's woven into our every fabric of society. So.
See, personally for me, if I want to go off and give my stiff truth and 2 cents in on this, is I'm a big fan of transparency and accountability. I hate that like Starfish 182 can comment that whatever fucking political agenda they want to and then go hide who they really are. I hate that. I want everyone to have to put their damn actual name on their posts and own it all the time. And I think that'll solve a lot of this animosity that gets developed by ghost accounts, because I can't stand that people hide behind that.
You don't like internet tough guys?
No, I don't. I know our good friend and owner of Third Rock Pest Pros in Austin, Richard Flores, has told me several times, well, not me, but I've seen on his posts on Facebook that if you don't put anything on the internet that you wouldn't say to my face, because you might get punched in the mouth, right? And that's the concept, right? You shouldn't do that. You should behave on the internet like you would behave in any other confrontational issue or argument, and say things that you want to back up, like to someone's face. And if you're unwilling to do that, then you're being an internet tough guy, and you're hiding behind anonymity, and you're hiding behind thousands of miles of distance, and you're being a pussy.
That's great. And I love the call out for Richard Flores too, because Richard Flores will punch you in the fucking face too. He's no punk bitch.
He might, but he'll also like address all of your pest control needs in Austin and the surrounding areas.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, guys. He's not a bully, but he ain't going to take no shit. And that's including from Pest in your house.
Just for the free plug, that's go ahead and find him at thirdrockpestpros.com.
Yeah, Richard, and you can send the check directly payable to either Scott or Bob at the Stiff Truth.
Yeah, we'll work out the logistics of that later. But
shout out there.
Couldn't bring up our man without, plugging him a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. Have you seen, let me ask you this. Have you seen the fact check button on anybody else's tweets? Anybody's?
Oh, no, ever. That's what I'm saying.
Is this Trump's button then? Did they design it for him?
Yeah, they specifically did it for him. That's why I'm saying. And now they're a business. I mean, basically, they could put the sign up on their fucking thing that says we have the right to refuse service to anyone.
Yeah, we do not. We refuse. We have the right to refuse service to any orange people. Very racist.
So, I mean, so the interesting thing about what he's doing here is he's meddling in government control over private businesses' way to run their business with their customers. And that is a very interesting thing to meddle in, especially for the GOP, who is very much into individual rights and business rights like that.
Well, they say they are, but I think that's starting to become I'm honest. They say they are, but I think it's becoming a little bit of a smokescreen and bullshit altogether.
It's a point in a platform thing, but a practice thing, not so much.
It's something we used to believe in, is all this shit that you guys love, but moving forward, let's spend a shitload of money. No, yeah. Well, it will be really interesting to see that, man, because I do agree with you 100% that it would be very refreshing for people not to be able to have this kind of anonymous fucking influence on people posting utter bullshit, right? That'd be great. And for everybody to own their shit. Do I really like the idea of like Facebook and Twitter becoming like legitimate news outlets with their own like agenda, like even furthermore than what they already have? I don't know if I'm all about that. I can see a lot of negatives and positives from that. So we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sets social media back a different direction and takes it back to the blog days, to where if you wanted to post your shit, you had to like start up a blog site and post it on your own site, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this works out, and it ain't gonna go fast. This will be a molasses moving, crawling situation that we'll keep an eye on. But there's definitely First Amendment implications here. So
yeah, well. You just mentioned somebody too, Joe Biden. Interesting. I've been just, paying attention to the news, as I'm sure almost every Stippy has the past few days, except for Bob. Bob did not watch the news this morning, but that's okay. We won't hold that against him. He had things to do, right?
Yeah, I was living life.
Good answer, my friend. But yeah, no, recently, and this is kind of, yes, it did kind of predate what happened with George Floyd, I think by maybe a few days, right? But Biden's making some pretty big strides out there to really, really identify with the African-American community. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, but you think it's working? Think it's working for him?
Well, here's the thing.
Pre-Floyd, too. Pre-Floyd. I have to say that because now that adds a whole new dynamic to this.
I'm going to say that the black community identifies with Biden a couple of different ways already, because he was obviously on the Obama ticket. Fair enough. Also, there's plenty in the black community that'll vote for Biden if for no other reason to simply not vote for Trump. There's that too, right? Sure. Now, I think
with all that being said,
Biden might confuse the willingness to vote for the man with the closeness of the community. So Joe was on an interview with Charlemagne the God, right? He has a radio show in New York City, podcast, radio show, all of that. Very successful interviewee. They do a lot of talking about how social and political issues affect the black community on that show. And Joe Biden basically told him that the bottom line is, if you're voting for Trump, you ain't black.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I heard too. So it almost sounds like maybe Biden should flip his hat that he put back around the other way, spin that fucker back around, because it sounds like he's just one of the boys right now. And goodness gracious, if you don't vote for him, not you, but just speaking to generally, you're not a true African American if you don't vote for me. Is essentially what I kind of got.
Didn't go as far as to say that if you vote for Trump, I'm blacker than you. There's definitely a connotation there, right?
I wish he would have said that. Like, dude, if you vote for Trump, I'm blacker than you, huh? My goodness. Yeah, but he did insinuate something similar to which.
It was such a weird thing because the interview was ending. He didn't have to say it, but it's not like
Was this Biden going off
Charlemagne the
script?
God was like,
Was he going off script here, you think? Was it like, hey, Joe, you're done. Your notes are done. The cards are done, man. What are you doing? What are you saying?
again, I think he's a little bit too comfortable thinking and confusing the willingness to vote for him from the Black community as the willingness to be accepted as an advocate so much for the Black community, because I don't think that they're one and the same, and I don't think that many people will vote for him because he has their best interest in mind. I think he gets the votes because he has maybe more of their best interest in mind than Trump. And that's kind of a typical Democrat v. Republican ideology in most of the Black community in general, and has been for a long time. Sure. So I just thought it was a very, very strange thing to say. He did come out and apologize for it after, but the bottom line is,
well, of course he's going to do that.
And it's not like Trump does this either, but the bottom line is we should have a presidential candidate that may at least pause for a few seconds to digest a question and then reciprocate that answer, right? So,
God, that would be refreshing, Bob. Maybe you know, I'm thinking maybe Bob gets up there for president in the next go around.
Bob West for New Mexico Senate 2024.
Love that.
So it was just a dumb, boneheaded thing to say, and it was just unnecessary. But I don't think it's that huge of a deal necessarily. But I can say this: it definitely left the news cycle quick, and so that's fortunate for him and his campaign.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate what kind of took over, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it seems to me before really all this craziness happened this past week, it seemed like to me it was a very big deal for him to say that. I'm just kind of I'm speculating, obviously, but I'm getting inside of Joe's head and saying, why the fuck would you say that? I think he's that desperate to get the African American vote on the whole, knowing that it could be the tipping, of the scale to kind of really give him that little bit of an edge that he needs. But it almost came off the way he said it. And maybe if he said it a different way, maybe it wouldn't be, but almost like a big sign of desperation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like with a dash of arrogance for his position in the Black community, right?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Saying that might alienate yourself in general, and it probably did from some voters.
Yeah, like he's almost, if he was speaking in a different type of rhetoric and more of a normal kind of speech pattern and not this aging politician, it's pretty much he was like, man, this is going to be a really nail-biting election, but my brother's got me. I know that for sure. You're like, what?
Right, and it's like if you were a moderate Republican Black man and you were already like, Trump's turned me off, I'm just going to probably vote for Biden this time, that comment right there could have just swung you back the other way. Really
100%. In fact, I saw a few different videos from African-American dudes that were extremely livid about what Joe had said, basically calling them out, right? Calling out their heritage, their ethnicity, and everything. And
their choice. Like their ability to have a choice.
And who the fuck is he to say that? He's a 70-something-year-old fucking white man that's been a politician for 50 years. Not exactly somebody that's identifying with the common man in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because, I mean, granted, a lot of people in America aren't very cognitive of the platforms of the party that they may be voting for on either side, or an individual politician's agenda, and they just might be checking a box because that's just like what they always do or whatever. But there's definitely many, many voters out there that are highly aware of what's going on, and we like that ability to go into a voting booth and think about what we want, think about what's really in our family and our community's best interest, and put that card down. And for someone to say something like that is really a slap in the face for that ability, for have that proper judgment and critical thinking ability as an individual.
Yeah, and it's not ironic at all that the people that you're talking about, the voters that are highly vested in actually learning and understanding not only the candidates, but what these policies that they're proposing actually, how they would affect their community, their families, and otherwise, they're usually the moderates on both sides of the spectrum. Isn't that interesting?
There's a lot more moderates out there on both left and right of center than many people give credit to.
Yeah, no, it's the far left or right that those are the ones that are kind of I can't say this as a whole, but usually those are the ones that are going to kind of just vote party line regardless of the issues at hand, which is unfortunate, but God bless the moderates out there. Love you all. Stiffies, I'm sure a lot of you are moderates of some way, shape, or form. Yeah, they are.
I'm a moderate straight man.
Yes, because I wasn't just talking about political viewers. Just kind of being on the fence in the middle about a lot of things, sexuality, that kind of stuff as well. Yeah, definitely, Bob.
So I'm kind of moving on. I think we've talked about that enough. I do want to let everyone know that I got some fun new crafting materials in. And I'm going to be making...
Bob shops at Hobby Lobby.
I do. And Michael's. And sometimes Joanne's Fabrics if I have enough time.
Oh my God, that's a nice little Saturday you got packed in. I love it.
So I'll be making a bunch of window decals, some vinyl clings for the Stiff Truth, for the stifftruth.com, and I want you guys to have them, but there is a caveat. I'm not just gonna bumper sticker the world, okay?
Hashtag Bob West, hashtag shirt the world, hashtag bumper sticker the world, hashtag part of the solution. You're getting quite a little hashtag.
New Mexico, hashtag US Senate 2024. You gotta get that in there.
Yeah, quite a title now, my friend.
I know. And so what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna make 5 right away so that I can send to you stiffies. And what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to go to the Stiff Truth channel on YouTube, and I want you to put your comments in there with a like. And I'm going to take 5 of those comments that are the most deserving. So I want to know why you like the show, why you're stiffy. I don't know, why you hate our show but can't get enough like a train wreck. Whatever, I'm open. But I do want to see the 5 comments that I feel are most deserving to get it. And I will pick 5 of them, and this week, and I will get a hold of you, and we will mail them out, and we will figure that out. So super excited about that. Start getting it out there. And as always, we still have our shirts. If you guys are interested in a shirt, soon we'll be adding hats. But if you're interested in any merch, just hit us up in a PM or email or Facebook or whatever, and just let us know. We'll figure out a way to work that deal out with you guys.
That's great, Bob. And it's a really, really clever way to find out the personal information and home addresses of perfect strangers, too, which I love.
You notice how I didn't say that we do not intend to sell the information. So yes. You never know. It's a mystery. We might have every intention on selling that information.
Or coming to your house. Who knows, right?
We'll sell it to Facebook. Wait a minute. We should buy it from Facebook. Like everybody else. Oh, too soon? Too soon?
No, just right. Just right, Bob. But I'll tell you what, man. We're getting to the part of the show, or we're gonna dive in. We're gonna dive in, and we're gonna talk about George Floyd and really the tragedy there and the aftermath, obviously, that we've got to see the past couple of days. But Bob, before we get into that, I think I'm gonna need a drink, my friend.
Okay, I'm into that. I need 2 drinks. So.
Oh, sure. Well, let's go do that.
We'll be back. I just want you to know that it's all about the kids.
It's always about the kids. Stiff truth, the 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 stiff truth.
Same time, man. I don't know you.
Same time, dog. Oh, well, let me tell you what, Bob. First and foremost here, I'm a drunk. I have to admit that, because when I was measuring those out, I was like, that is not enough scotch. And then, of course, I had to up the quantity of the Drambulie to counteract that. So I may have an even stiffer drink than I intended, but all good.
Well, and the bottom line is it's a glass full of scotch any way you shake it. So
that is true. That's
today
true.
we're drinking the Rusty Nail. Boom.
Mine's full of ice. So, and what is in the Rusty Nail, Bobby?
So the Rusty Nail is scotch and drambuie.
Mm-hmm.
Drambuie is kind of like a licorice infused scotch with herbs and spices and whatever. It's kind of Jaegery, but overall, this is a full glass of 80 proof alcohol with nothing else in it. It's fantastic, totally drinkable, and I'm going to down both of mine and see how interesting the rest of the show gets.
Did we get one for the thumbnail?
Here, let me. I think it's. Oh, here. Do I hold it up against that guy's mouth like he's thinking it?
I think this will work perfectly.
All right.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah.
Go ahead.
No way am I taking this from you. You go, sir. Please. I apologize because, as you know, and we'll get into this, I have white privilege, so I need to let you talk.
Well,
how'd you like that?
This week has been very unfortunate. We've watched it unfold over the whole week, and it started off on Tuesday morning when my wife showed me this video and says, look at what they did to this guy. And this guy was George Floyd. And I was like, oh, well, why are 4 guys holding that guy down? He's handcuffed. Why don't they put him in the car? Like, what are they doing? And I'm watching this, and I'm like, what are they doing? What are they doing? Like, lift his ass up and put him in the car. What the fuck are you doing? Right? And that's the reaction I think that pretty much everyone that saw it had, right? Well, later on, I found out that, that he was announced dead in the hospital. Medical examiner said he actually died on the scene. Yeah. So more and more stuff unfolded. Okay, so a couple of days went by, and we know that the protest started, and then the riots are now escalating, which we'll get into. But I still want to talk about the incident of George Floyd first. Later on, TMZ, of all people, churned up another angle and another cell phone recording or a store recording or something. This was like right when he had gotten cuffed. Have you seen the video, Scott, about the man that had his knee on his neck? I forget his name already. But,
yeah, his name is, and I don't even want to make it a name because I don't like making people like this.
Right. So that piece of shit actually had him cuffed, thrown into the back seat, and from the angle looked like he was beating him. While the Asian American cop, Tutu or Tao or whatever his name is, was literally sitting there as a lookout. Right. The other 2 cops went in the other side. And this is in the back seat of one of their Explorers or whatever. The other 2 cops opened the other side of the door and hopped in, and it looked like they were beating him too. Then the guy shut the door behind him, and that Tao guy went to the other side of the car. So if you're wondering why he was saying his stomach was hurting and why his nose is all bloody and all that, when it didn't, like, what the hell happened there? It's because before that whole incident, and he was down on the ground getting choked out, he was actually getting jumped in the back of the car by 4 cops, handcuffed,
defenseless, weaponless, and
it's worse than the Rodney King beating.
The guy's the piece of shit's name is Derek Chauvin. That's the guy's name, Derek Chauvin. I don't even give a fuck if I'm saying it right because he's a piece of shit. But yeah,
total piece of shit.
But I'll tell you what,
I'm taking a hit of my
you do you. But no, honestly, I'll tell you what, man. I mean, earlier this week when I watched the initial video, not even seeing that video, right? Not even seeing what happened up until that point. Is very painful to watch. And again, I was joking around earlier when I'm saying, like, look, I've got white privilege here. The reason why I said that is I can't identify. And I'm not pointing out Trump, but to say I understand what you guys are going through. No, you don't, Trump. No, you don't. I honestly don't understand what a lot of people are going through that have had this happen in their communities to people that are their friends and neighbors just because of the color of their skin too. I've never been treated like that. I think the closest I've been treated unfairly is when I was a junkie and I was stealing shit and robbing stuff and the police were mean to me. But I kind of put that on myself. Like, I think you could go ahead and say that.
Right. And in fact, Trump's probably the least capable of understanding. He's like the epitome of what white privilege is.
He's the epitome of it, right? So, but watching that was so fucking painful because one, this guy looks like a total piece of shit. Not only is he on the guy's neck and he's fucking crying out for his mom, of all things. His mom is deceased. So when somebody's crying out for their mom and you're a grown ass man and you're what, 40s, right? I believe in his 40s, and you're crying out for your dead mother, probably pretty serious of what's going on. It's basically like equating him to crying out to God, please don't let this happen to me, right? When you start saying that kind of shit.
He's literally asking his like spirit mother to help him.
Exactly. It was gut-wrenching to watch it. And that little fucking Asian too, I have to say it. Sorry I said that, but it's very upsetting to me that these other cops, regardless of what they did before, while this guy literally is having the last few breaths of his life underneath this fucking piece of shit racist cop's fucking knee, these guys are just standing there doing crowd control, right? Like, hey, nothing to see here, nothing to do. Like, dude, give me a fucking break.
Well, so when I first saw the video, I was like, why aren't those other cops like grabbing that guy by the shoulders and throwing him off of him? Like, what are they doing? Like they should say, hey, you need to get off this guy. You need to get off this guy. You don't want to get off, pull your fucking gun and say, get down on the ground. You're under arrest. Right. Yeah. And I was like, why didn't they do that? There has to be one good cop out of them. But then I saw that video yesterday when they jumped him in the backseat before they got him to the ground. Because they were all fucking in on it. So 2 things from that video yesterday. A, I think it opens up the murder 2 charge. I think they'll probably end up opening up to murder 2. And then that'll also put those other guys as accessories to murder 2.
I say this. I listened to Trey Dowdy earlier today making a very good argument for murder 1. So I would take it that far because let me just tell you this. Outside the other people being involved at all, just him and that guy, just Derek piece of shit. I'm just going to call him that, Derek piece of shit, right? But just with him on his neck, when 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8+ minutes goes by and the person's telling you, you're killing me, I can't breathe, please let me fuck, over and over again. At what point does that stop being what they want to call it now, 3rd-degree murder? And what point does it become premeditated when you know what the fuck is happening and you let it happen?
Well, so I'm fairly certain they started with 3rd-degree murder because it's easy to convict on that because they'll for sure have it. Because of double jeopardy and all that, you don't want to lose a case or get an acquittal because in a jury of your peers, you know that his defense lawyer, if he doesn't Jeffrey Epstein himself before then, you know that his defense lawyer, or, the guards, but his defense lawyer will definitely get 6 fucking racist-ass people as much as they can to get in there to try to get a fucking hung jury. You know that's going to be the MO for the defense, and that's rightfully so. That's what they're paid to do. Fair enough.
One joke here. One joke. A hung jury is a jury all conspired of John Holmes.
I was going to say John Hamm, but all right.
Lexington Seal, John Hamm, and John Holmes with the jury. It's a hung jury. Get the fuck out of here. I'm very impressed, sirs. Okay. Sorry, that was my one joke. Get back in it.
So not to laugh at such a serious matter, but
we have to.
You guys know us. We do that. But I mean, when I saw that, I'm not a fan of like murder porn. Like my wife, when we first got together, she has all the, what is that shit? The traces of death and faces of death and all.
Yeah,
that
we
shit,
talked
right?
about that before. Sure.
Right, and I can't do it. Like, it turns my stomach. I just don't like to see humanity. It's worse like that. It just bothers me. I like to have more hope than that, and just always chalk that up to bad seeds. But so when I saw that, it really just reminded me of that and just turned my stomach. I won't watch it again. And even the clips that I see on the news, even that they just show it for a second because it just makes me think of it. I mean, just watching something like that alone can give a person mild PTSD. And I'm like I don't want to say privileged white person, but I have worked my way into life to become a fairly privileged white person at this point.
Well,
did not start off that way. I want folks to understand that.
But let's both be honest about something here. The reason why I say we're both privileged and trust me, there's plenty of white people, believe it or not, Stivvies, that aren't privileged at all, even from the beginning, from the very beginning. But we were both born into families where we did have things that other people didn't have. Not saying we fucking are silver spoon kids like Trump or anything like that, but I think we both were set up to be successful. We just had to take the reins ourselves. And that's where we kind of fucked up a little bit after we got out of our parents' house. But prior to that, I think we were set up pretty nicely. I think things were pretty posh compared to the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
Right?
the cards that I started off with were not near as bad as they could have been, and that some get. So,
Exactly. And then you turn them into a full house as you took care of your own life, right?
but
So good for you.
I grew up in a poor part of town in East Texas,
Mhm.
and
Well, it's East
in
Texas,
East
dude.
Texas, it's like
Yeah.
like half black there. So, it's a little bit different than Albuquerque where I live now. But so it's just really tough to watch people with that kind of disregard for people, regardless of their color. And I see a lot about what first off, there's the riots going on, and we need to address that, right? And then there's the protest. Well, a lot of people want to lump it in and try to push talking points, and this isn't a time for political talking points, right? There's a difference between a rioter and a protester.
Sure.
And there's a reason why protests don't start until around 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's because the protesters are like working, right? And they come down with their signs and they're trying to be peaceful and they protest. 8 or 9 o'clock comes around, whatever the curfew, and a lot of the protesters respect that and they will go back. There's some that hang out, but the looters and the rioters are coming normally at that point. You're not seeing a lot of looting and rioting happen at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
No,
That's not the way that it's going down.
Well, it's too visible too. People can actually see you in the car you're driving off in, because under the blanket of night is when a lot of people start getting the internet tough guy mentality, but in real life.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see more community leaders step up. I'm starting to see more people with megaphones, more people trying to guide the crowds into the right things. Like I saw Al Sharpton out in Minnesota trying to talk to people. There was a congresswoman that went out to I forget where her town was, but she went out and even got sprayed trying to in the face of pepper spray, trying to like talk to the people, like stay off the street, let's protest, not riot and start shit with the cops, right? And if you the thing that everyone needs to be mindful of is the protests gather the watchful eye onto your issue. You don't continue the issue indefinitely. You use that issue and that watchful eye to then start a movement. And that movement and where the protest ends is at the polls. If you want change, you go to the polls and you vote for it in November. You vote for the people that can lead that change. You vote for people that can do something about it. If it's your police force that you want change, you go to city council. You go to the police oversight committee, the city council. You go to the local government and you start demanding change en masse there and start changing the law, start changing oversight. Because what we have here is we don't just have, this racist issue necessarily. I mean, yeah, it sort of is in general, but beyond that, the bigger picture of that, above the weeds, is we have an issue with how our police force is created, ran, oversight of it. We need change that's systemic across everything. Like these officers, first of all, they need to be vetted, of course, and a lot of them do. But then after that, we need even more opportunity to keep a watchful eye on who's holding our civil liberties in their hands when they go out. I love cops. My brother's been a sheriff for years. I'm all about the cops, so please don't misunderstand that I'm like taking sides here, because I think that without the police force, our democracy cannot stand. We're a rule of law, and they are the law enforcers. You can't have one without the other. But we can have oversight. We can have mental health watches. If something traumatic happens to an officer in the line of duty, kind of like the military, you need to go in and be evaluated. Sometimes, often, maybe 3 to 6 months, to make sure that you're not suffering from PTSD, to make sure that your mind hasn't been altered, to make sure that you can still handle the responsibility of holding people's civil liberties in your hand. That is a tremendous responsibility that needs more oversight. And so this is a paradigm shift that needs to happen across the country. This isn't just this police force is bad or these cops are bad, because I will tell you right now, 95% of cops are in it for the right reasons and they do the right things when no one's looking. It's
Absolutely.
those 5% of people that fuck up and they get it visible. Did that one cop think, I'm gonna kill this black guy and people ain't gonna say shit about it? Because there's protests in Germany, there's protests in Italy, This shit has gone global, and there has been like what, a couple dozen people are now dead from all these protests, cops and protesters and rioters alike, shop owners. I mean, it's out of hand, all because of one bad apple wanted to abuse his authority and take it out on an innocent fucking civilian.
Yeah, and I love the way you put that, Bob, because at the end of the day, and I'm just going to say this in a lot less words, I guess, this is more of a justice system, starting with the police, right? That's more of what the problem is at the end of the day, right? And I think both you and I, we talked about it the other day too. I think police, I mean, we're going to dive into this a little bit more. I think they're not nearly given the credit, nor the money, nor the praise that they should for what they actually have to do day in and day out, right? Let's just face that. I think we both have police and law enforcement in our family, right? So when we hear this fuck the police thing and all that, great, I totally get it, because you got to point your finger at somebody, right, when this shit happens. And when it's a cop, you're going to say fuck the police. It makes sense. I get it. But it really all starts with, okay, yeah, there's a small percentage of people. Most cops are really good people that are in here to try to help and protect and serve and do what they were fucking meant to do with taking this position and this job. But unfortunately, there is a small faction of people that make a lot of noise, right? So I know right now, for instance, I've got like my second cousin is a cop, just became a cop in upstate New York, right? I know his entire precinct, and I know cops around the country that had nothing to do with this, nor, mind you, a lot of these communities, they don't have a long history of discrimination against blacks, right? There's actually some good communities out there that have taken care of people as individuals, regardless of race, religion, color, or gender. But right now, they're all being grouped together and demonized by actions of this one piece of shit, right? There's so much to unpack there. We can't do it, but that's one thing, dude. There needs to be a revamp of, like you said too, not only how we treat and evaluate police officers while they're in the line of duty and as they're continuing their career path, but even becoming a police officer. I think that needs to have a huge paradigm shift too, with how that's taken into effect, like how you're qualified. I think it needs to be much more of the same way we get into our positions. It's
an honor. It's an honor to be a police officer. It shouldn't be a fallback.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like, hey, I've fucked up my entire life. It's time to get my shit together and become a cop.
Well, I don't have any felonies, so I think I can still go to the police academy. No.
Now, don't get me wrong.
Honor and a privilege to be able to join the police academy.
There's definitely been some guys, though, before we go out and just generalize all those people, there's been a lot of reformed criminals that have wanted to do good and become great cops and great detectives, because they also can put their heads inside of the criminals' minds much better than other people. So I can't blanket that. But again, these psychological evaluations right out of the get-go, and you've got to get educated. I hate to say that, but it's going to weed some of these fucking people out. And I'm not saying if you don't go to college or whatever.
How bad do you want it? Go get an associate's degree.
That's what that fucking means. How bad do you want it? Are you just doing this because you're falling back on something and you've given up on life and you're a piece of shit and you want to fucking tote a gun around and have a power trip? Because that's what these little fucking small percentage guys are thinking, right? But if we can weed those people out by actually making it kind of difficult and a reward, like you said, to become a police officer, we may not get rid of everything, but goddamn, dude, I have a big feeling that the pool of these fucking morons would be a lot smaller if they just held the police officer position to a much higher standard.
And this is an instant where we talked about this off air, about how throwing money at a situation like this can actually help, because police officers are such a big cog in our country, in our democracy, and how we are to sustain our United States of America indefinitely, that it needs to be an honor, a privilege, and they need to be fucking paid for it. You know, there's no reason why cops in this country shouldn't make $80, $90, $100,000 a year, should be offered fucking college opportunities before, during, and after, and have it be a thing. I'm going to be a cop. Holy shit, that's badass.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Instead of, I'm going to be a cop. Oh, something didn't work out. You know, no. And we don't pay them like that. I want to say that a rookie cop in New Mexico, something like $40K.
Dude, it's on. Okay. Granted, it's a little bit above poverty level and things like that, what they're coming out of the gate with. But I mean, this could open up a whole other can of worms. But public servants in general and people that like are there, even like teachers, for fucking Christ's sakes, right? But especially people that put themselves in front of harm every day. Those people need to pay be paid more than I do. That's all I'm saying. Hey, I've got an important job. I do good things for people, but at the end of the day, I sell shit. You know what I mean? My fucking risk only goes so far, and it probably doesn't go outside of my office. You know what I mean? When somebody literally has to pull somebody over and have no fucking clue if they're going to get fucking blasted with a shotgun when that dude rolls down the window, or be able to write a ticket and move on to go on with their day and go home to their families, that kind of fucking shit that could happen and what they're doing, that deserves a hell of a lot more money, a hell of a lot more recognition. And I think if they had that, like we're saying, if they had that, then not only would we get better people in the police force and keep better people in the police force, I think more importantly, right? But we'd have, like, and I think you were saying this too, we'd have people in general, society, look at police officers like you said, wow, you're a cop, that's fucking badass. We wouldn't have this such downplay of people being cops. Like, unfortunately, we do, and it's unfortunate because it's because of pieces of shit like this Derek guy.
Yeah, and and you and I both have relatives in the police force, and this guy not only made it more dangerous for cops in Minnesota, this guy just made it exponentially more dangerous for all cops all across the country. And like, who the fuck do you think you are if you can put all of these people at risk because of your fucking personal agenda? It's shameful that there's even someone like that can pass the muster to even get and stay on the force. Like, why is there not psych evals being done on someone, especially like this, that had a history of fucking issues that have all been just noted in his log but no action taken? Like, there should have been a therapist involved in many of those issues. Like, hey, why did you feel the need to fucking, shoot this other guy like 30 times or whatever with your fellow cops when he was like running away or whatever the fuck that thing his list is? I can't remember, but why we don't have that level is part of the problem. And us as a society not funneling money over to something in a position that's that important in our society is utterly ridiculous. Oh. I don't quite understand why we spend money on some of the things we spend money on in our state, local, and federal government, but then we neglect glaring issues like this that are fucking being underfunded and neglected.
And I even hate to say this, dude, because I love sports, but there's a huge lopsidedness. This is huge, just deranged way of thinking to where somebody that throws a football really well gets $100 million. And somebody that saves like a family of four from, a deadbeat abusive father or mother or whatever, or just does all this other stuff, makes 40 grand. You know what I mean? And come on, dude. I mean, somebody's playing a game. The other person is playing a game with their fucking life.
Yeah. And that's some of the problem. But again, these things can't be all fixed, but what we can do is we can start on a path of addressing it, and that's something that we haven't done in this country.
We're doing it right now, having cocktails too.
That's right. These issues haven't gone away since the riots in '92. This is the same fucking thing again.
This is, dude. This is kind of still like you would think that the civil rights movement just ended, right? I mean, literally, this goes back to the '60s. It goes back before that, but you know what I mean with the unrest, right? It seems like we're treading water here. We're not going anywhere, is what I'm saying. I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel here.
We need some think tanks all across the country, especially in the more hit areas of this racial difference. But it's not like there's any. I would say, you go to the southern states and you'll see this more. No, you see it everywhere. I mean, this happened in one of the most northern states you can really get to.
I was actually just going to say that, Bob. I was like, I can't believe that the epicenter of this is fucking Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Right.
Like, fucking a few weeks ago, I would have told you, hey, Minneapolis, probably one of the safest cities that you can go to out of major cities in the country. Yeah, it's a little fucking cold, so maybe not my bag of tea, but this to me blows my fucking mind that the epicenter, and I'm not going to point out city. Well, no, I am going to point out cities because this is the stiff truth, but I think I would think this would be somewhere like Jacksonville, Miami, Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, Seattle, New York, Boston, anywhere else where there seems to be a lot more people in general than fucking Minneapolis, dude. Yeah, that blew my mind.
And I think that's part of why it's so powerful. Yeah, I really do.
It's dude. They had, and Jamie was telling this. They were having, and I did kind of laugh at this. So I was like, nobody cares what they're setting up there. And I'm sorry for our fans in North Dakota, but they had protests that got a little bit violent in Fargo, North Dakota.
Well, don't you know?
They're really pissed about this, and they're still upset about that man being put in the wood chipper. But seriously, like that, but it's very close to Minneapolis. That's why it makes sense, right? This is actually near and dear to them because you actually travel to Minnesota when you live in North Dakota. But even like you said, not only has this gone internationally, but little places are popping up pretty outraged too, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I refuse to look at this as a black-white issue. I refuse to look at this as a Democrat or Republican issue. It really pisses me off when I hear either side, Dems or Republicans, say that, well, the Dems and their protests are killing people. And, the Dems are like, oh, the Republican neo-fascist or whatever. I don't really care about all that shit. Here's the thing. This is a highly political protest. Highly political.
Oh, fuck yeah,
this
is
police brutality. A partisan issue.
No,
at all. If you're going to tell me that the protesters out there being peaceful and silent aren't filled with a lot of both sides of the aisle, you're fucking ignorant. The
100%.
Racism and civil liberties being crushed is a bipartisan issue, and to take sides on this issue is fucking irresponsible and fucking ignorant.
Dude, I'm glad you said that too, because god damn it. It should not be a partisan issue. You know what I mean? This is something that kind of cuts through all that to our human core and humanity, right? That's what this is really about, man. And it's making me sick already, Bob, because as you know, I tend to be on social media here and there. I dabble, right? But it already, man, I've seen it from both sides. And I feel like saying a lot, but I'm not an internet troll, right? So when I see somebody post something, here's something that I saw earlier that just kind of pissed me off. Dude, this George Floyd thing is fucking ridiculously sad. It's horrific. And I have somebody posting stuff about, what about this white lady in 2017 that was killed by a cop? Where were her fucking riots and her protesters? I was like, well, one, because it doesn't happen all the fucking time to white people. You know what I mean? It's like, settle the fuck down. But the obviously glaring thing to me that was behind this dude's post is like, dude, you're a fucking hardcore racist. You should just come out and say, fuck all this. This is just some uppity black guy, and I'm sick of black people getting all the fucking press. What about this white lady? You know what I mean? It's almost like with that post, they showed how much of a racist they were without saying a goddamn thing. And I've seen it on the other side too, but you start to see people coming out of the woodwork right now and show their true colors when things get really heated. And it's really disgusting, dude. It's really disgusting. I've seen some shit where people are applauding the rioters, not the protesters, the people that are literally destroying stores.
Yeah, and that's disgusting. That's fucking anti-American. That's You're voting. You're saying that it's okay to run around and just kill civilians. Is what you're saying, like Charles Manson style.
And we talked about this earlier. Here's the other really glaring thing, and I will say this too. People had a lot of problems on the left when they were protesting about the lockdowns, because those were mostly conservative people, right? They had a lot of problems with that. All of a sudden, those same mouthpieces have no problems, and they're defending the protesters and the rioters. Kind of interesting there too. So it's like, what are we rioting about? I mean, protesting. I mean, rioting. Oh, okay, that's cool. Okay, that's not. So there's that too. So, but I don't know. I can get so worked up about this in many different ways, man. But it's not a white or black thing.
Man. Get worked up. Bring the stiff truth. We can always edit it out.
Yeah. If you get too truthful, Scott, we can cut that shit right out of this bitch. But no, it's not a black or white thing. But it kills me, man. Like we were just talking about too. And I got a little sidetrack here, but one of the things that pisses me off the most is the people that are applauding the rioters, like I was just saying. And the reason why I hate that so much, especially what's been going on in society over the past 3 months, right? We're facing the biggest, I wouldn't say the biggest pandemic, because I've got some holes I want to punch in that. Maybe that's another stiff truth or whatever, but the biggest shutdown and biggest fucking like kind of catastrophe for the American economy has been happening over the last few months, right? Let's face it. We've never had this kind of shutdown. We didn't even have this kind of shutdown in the fucking, the Great Depression. It may have happened, but it never was like, hey, we're shutting this down voluntarily. As we're starting to slowly open things back up, Mom and pop businesses starting to get their fucking groove back, right? You've got people in Minneapolis and other cities that are literally going in and looting and rioting and destroying these people's local businesses. We talked about it offline earlier. There was a guy in Minneapolis fucking spent his entire life savings on his convenience store. Looters and rioters destroyed the fucking store entirely. Now, icing on the cake, this guy is a black man, too. Do you think they even knew it was his store when they went in there and started tearing shit up? No, because they don't give a fuck. But they did. This guy has no fucking business now. He's relying on GoFundMe right now to get his head above water. That's fucking asinine horse shit. And anybody that's fucking looting and rioting right now can suck my dick.
Yeah, and especially all the people that say, well, they have insurance. No, as a former business owner of actual hardware, and I had to get umbrella insurance, that shit is expensive. And no, not all small business owners can fit that umbrella insurance into their overhead. So no, that is not a fucking a truism. Yeah.
And especially when you're quoted as spending your entire life savings on opening your business, right?
Right. You probably don't have a $3 million or $4 million umbrella insurance.
No, and you're probably, that's the timing to me, and putting myself in this guy's shoes specifically is just fucking completely asinine to me. Because again, we're like, okay, cool. People can finally start coming into my store again. This is going to be cool. You know, like, fuck yeah. And then like a few days later, your store gets torched and destroyed.
Yeah. And, maybe it's the end of my second stiff drink here, but I will say that taking the opportunity to uber aggressively fucking charge your partisan politics over this is the most un-American thing that you can do in a time of crisis like this. We've got some issues that need to be sorted out, but we need to curtail the riots and the protest and start an action, a civil movement, and start trying to actually solve these problems collectively. Let's march on Washington with a couple million people right up into the fucking, not the White House, because Trump just signs bills. He doesn't make fucking laws.
To the fucking... Again, guys, Trump is not the fucking problem here. I know he's stupid and can't say things correctly sometimes, but that's the other thing. I have to interject just for a minute because, like, again, I've heard people today, well, what happened here? What's your opinion on all this? Well, it's all Trump's fault, and the coronavirus is all Trump's fault, and the riots are all Trump's fault. He's the racist guy. No,
he's douchey and he's loud on Twitter, but overall, he doesn't control a whole lot. I mean, he finalizes bills that the Senate has fucking given him, but he doesn't actually like control the country in the way that some people think the president does.
And what do people think? Like he's Mr. Burns back there? Do you think he literally is? You know what I mean?
Definitely not.
Do you think this guy is literally smart enough to organize and plant this? Like, I'm going to have this cop and blah, 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 and then it's going to create civil unrest and all, everybody's going to, no, shut the fuck up and go fucking be a mouth breather somewhere else, you piece of shit.
He can't even control his impulse to tweet something irresponsible at 4 a.m. How's he going to control all these crazy conspiracies that people say? No, to march in Washington to Capitol Hill, where the senators in the House of Representatives meet.
Where the real unemployed people have been hanging out for the past 100 years.
That's where you have to go, and that's where it makes a difference. You want to make a difference? Don't go burn a shop down. Call your congressman and say, hey, I demand a bill be introduced. Yeah. Get a petition signed in your community of 25,000 people that says to your congressman, I got 25,000 people here that demand you try to introduce this bill. That's action.
Power or numbers? Power or numbers, as you know. Rioting is the unfortunate aftermath of numbers of people that are being mad and not thinking about what they're doing. But can you imagine if all these people across the country, because they've been mobilizing quite well, right? There's been, and don't get me wrong, I do have to separate this, and we're focusing on the rioters. I am so much for protesting. And I don't care if it's even that peaceful. You can yell and scream obscenities and do all kinds of dumb shit, but let's not touch other people and hurt them.
Just don't fuck up your neighbor.
Yeah,
and you can't get into a crowd of people and start fucking saying white America and shooting your bow and arrow either.
Well, you can, but
that's not
absolutely,
right.
Absolutely. I have to disagree with you there, Bob. I say anybody that wants to do that, please do that and do it in front of a large crowd of minorities at one of these protests, and natural selection will work its way out.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, that guy got fucked up, by the way. His car got flipped and set on fire, and he got his ass beat. Dude, he didn't even get off one shot. Why not? What kind of pussy?
Yeah, you can't fire deadly weapons into crowds of people. That's called a mass shooter. That's
Yeah, we've had a few of those recently. They've all been white. I'll point
we
out,
have.
but
I've noticed that it hasn't happened in all these riots, which I would figure would be a great venue
oh, a
for
great venue, especially for a
some of
white
these.
supremacist, right?
Right, but
Yeah, and I've heard.
remarkably quiet. So just goes
Yeah,
to show you how the mass shooters actually are just pussies. Not trying to incite a mass shooter, but
yeah. What are they going to do? Blow us up? Yeah,
but
come find us.
I do have to say that in all of this, we've got to just tone this down, and we've got to hit the legislative action market at this point.
Absolutely.
Because continuing this level of hate from not the protesters but from the rioters, right? And then the animosity from the political people trying to interject their politics in all this and throw gas on the hate flames. All that's going to do is, make no mistake, Trump will bring in the army and shoot Americans. He's already said so. Like that will happen, and that's where it will have to go if this keeps up. So everyone needs to calm the fuck down, and let's approach this perfectly. You have to ask yourself, we've all heard the story of George Floyd. We've all heard him as a gentle giant. We've all heard that he's from Houston, has a great family, moved up there because he just liked the city.
And he wanted to start over, right? I heard that too.
And would he want people out there murdering store owners and burning down buildings in his name? Because I'm going to say 100% that he would not.
No, and I don't think you're going out on a limb there at all. I think there's been a lot of his family that have talked about him and stepped up and told about what kind of person he is. And one thing that he hated was rioting, believe it or not. I heard that verbatim. So
and I'm sure there's going to be some people that see this show and be like, oh, what do these two fucking white guys know about anything? And fair enough, fine. Maybe I don't know about anything, but I've been around here for a long time, and I've been a pretty level-headed person, and I am very pro-American. I am very pro-black. I am very pro-white. I am very pro-Hispanic. I'm very pro-people. I'm very pro-American. I don't care what color you come from. We all fucking live the same, breathe the same air, eat the same food, vote for the same people,
deal with the same shit,
abide by the same laws, help each other the same way during hurricanes, during fucking natural disasters, fucking mass shootings. We all come together. We need to remember that. And the people that are breeding hate right now, fucking shame on you guys. Whether you're far right or far left, this isn't your venue to breed hate, whether it be on social media like a pussy, or whether it be on the streets with a 2x4. Man up, nut up, act like an adult, and help your fellow Americans get through this, because it's getting out of control, and we need to rein it back in and take appropriate action and be smart about it. And I don't know how else to say that.
Well, you've said it very well, Bob. And to piggyback off that too, I think what the biggest problem is when people hear what you said on a whole about, like, hey, go to your fucking, go to your house, your representatives, your senators, go vote. It takes a little bit of time, Bob. You've got to actually wait for the election. You got to get this done. This is people that want this instant gratification justification. It doesn't happen. You know what I mean? And what they're doing right now, again, just to kind of piggyback again, is the rioting, the looting. It's counterproductive to what they want to. So they're not getting what they think they want out of this. Now, I'm sure some people just, for some reason, want to take a lot of shit from Targets. Sorry, Target. I actually really enjoy your store. I don't know why everybody is looting your store. But in all seriousness, man, they've lost the mission in their actions, right? And it's going to be counterintuitive. And not only is this going to be a bigger hardship for businesses and communities to get back to fucking normal over the pandemic and all that shit that it's caused, but it's also going to be even harder for people to take this shit seriously when it happens more, right? Because now when you have a peaceful protest coming up, people are going to be on guard. They're going to be deaf ears. They're not going to be listening because they're going to be worried about what happens after the peaceful fucking protest. It's fucking ridiculous, man. So
yeah. So not only the rioters and the protesters, but just a word to the cops: be mindful that nothing that you guys do gets to stay on scene. Everything is recorded.
Yeah.
Everything.
This
I
is not
saw
the
a fucking National Guard crew in Minnesota roll through a suburb street, and they rolled up and they're like, "Hey, get inside your house." They're on their porch. You know, just this suburban family like watching, like, what the fuck? You know, abiding by the curfew. They're on their porch and they're like, "Get inside." They probably should have and gone inside, but they're on their porch. You know, whatever. They're not like fucking protesting or anything.
It's kind of their property though.
Right.
So,
you hear a guy say, "Light them up," and they start fucking shooting at them with fucking pepper bullets and shit. And thinking that, you know, no one's going to see this. Well, they all had fucking cell phones in their hand recording, dumbass. And so that kind of behavior right there will incite a fucking riot when it hits TMZ. Like everything you do, whether you're a protester, whether you're a fucking rioter, whether you're a police officer, whether you're a National Guard, whether you're the eventual army soldier that comes in, it will all be recorded because there's fucking cameras everywhere. So even though you do something in the moment on a relatively closed street, don't think that it can't hit the worldwide fucking news feed within the 24-hour news cycle, because it very well could. So everything that everyone does can be highly scrutinized, and people need to be mindful that every little thing is playing a part in this.
Yeah. So I think just in summary, pretty much really, because I think we can go, I honestly, and I'm not trying to stop us here, but in summary,
but I'm gonna.
No, because the only reason I say that, Bob, is because I think we could keep getting more fired up and getting more angry and more on our soapboxes.
Oh, we're okay. We're pretty level-headed, Scott.
As we keep going, speak for yourself. But anyways, but no, the reason why I wanted to kind of summarize it is like what we're trying to say here to people. And I think I'm on the same page here. Let me know if I'm stepping out from what you're trying to say is, if you want to make a difference with the people that can make a difference, right? So get out there and enact change legislatively. You're not going to be able to do this by being a criminal. And get out there and protest, though. I'm not saying don't protest. And Bob's not saying that either. Get out there and protest. If you don't think something's right, you let the fucking man know that you don't think it's right. And you get in front of the White House. You get in front of the Capitol building. You get in front of the police precinct, whatever, right? And you fucking wave your signs and you chant and you let these people know. And you make sure that you're the biggest fucking thorn in their side ever. But keep it fucking peaceful, or you're a part of the problem, right? And get in there and do what you need to do to take those steps to eventually make this change on a much grander scale. And that's going to be by putting legislative action in place that will stop this shit, right?
And
so
that is some hashtag part of the solution right there.
Woo! God damn. Not only did I do that because I'm fired up, but I'm trying to pace myself, but I'm well deep into my second rusty nail, and I like it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sad. I almost need a second stiff drink break, but I can hold off.
Can you, Bob?
I think we've hit that one hard enough. If you guys want to bring up more stuff, or you want to talk about it more, please comment in the YouTube section, or comment on Facebook or whatever. We can definitely circle back to this next week. Hopefully there will be better circumstances to talk about next week. But we're not opposed to talking about this. This is the stiff truth. We will lay it down how we see it, and we're not afraid of that. So by all means, if you guys want to agree or disagree, you want something brought up on the show, we'll circle back. But I'm going to move on from this, and I think that you're ready to move on from this too.
100%.
Something incredible happened yesterday, and we've had a fucked up year. The world has, America has. We've had a fucked up year.
2020 is on a roll, baby. 2020 is on a roll.
We finally had a ray of sunshine fucking hit America.
Can I say this?
That was fantastic. Go ahead.
A ray of space?
A solar ray?
Yes. No. But yeah, no, Bob is absolutely right. This was so exciting for me, and I know it's really exciting for a lot of people out there. I was even, just to kind of lay the land a little bit here, give you a little backstory, buddy. First of all, Wednesday was really exciting for me. I don't know about you, but I was watching TV.
It was, but total blue balls.
Yeah, I was ready to go. Fucking weather in fucking Florida. Of course, you fucking dirtbags. I get so mad. I was actually imagining Elon Musk like throwing shit in his office. You know, he just like
went outside and like lit a Cybertruck on fire. He had a protest in the back of his office.
Goddamn Mother Nature. But yeah, if anybody knows, I'm sure everybody knows, but that's been paying attention to it. But SpaceX and NASA, of course, together, first time a private company kind of joined forces with NASA to put men back up in space from Florida. I think that's the first time this happened since when?
I don't know when. I know that
early?
2011 we retired the last shuttle, and I think that was when it returned. So I think 2011.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the Cape Canaveral is kind of been like a tourist attraction since then, right? You know, it's it's been pretty dulled down. But yeah, Wednesday was we're supposed to have that go up. Weather delay. So fast forward, Saturday. Really funny though. Saturday at 1:22 Mountain Time, I believe it was,
That is
1:22
perfectly correct.
There you go. Fact check it, Twitter, you fucks. But anyways, I was actually shopping, right? And I had to get our little friend
some
here.
Drambuie.
Some Drambuie, right? But I got the Drambuie, and I realized because I had to backtrack to go get the Drambuie. By the way, Drambuie is really good, but it's almost $40 a fucking bottle. So don't spill this shit is all I got to say.
Yeah, it's very much a bottle of scotch.
Yeah, but I noticed, I was like, shit, dude. I was like, the launch is like in 8 minutes. I'm not going to make it. So I called Jamie right away. I was like, hey, can you put on the TV real quick? Can you pause it? Going nuts, right? And she's like, yeah, totally. Pause it up. Great. I got back. Was able to sit down and really just see history being made. Not only are we back in space with Americans in space. Did you see him? Did you see him dock to the International Space Station today?
I didn't, but I have it all recorded. So
good for you.
YouTube TV guys, fucking record the world. Unlimited DVR.
Gotta love it. But what's so great is what I've heard so far, Bob, about this too, is everything has went off without a hinge. You know what I mean? Everything has been fucking perfect to a T. And there's people kind of, a little bit with some of this stuff. Obviously, we've had
Elon Musk has like bit his fingernails down to nubs, but yes, everything has gone off very, very awesome.
Yeah, so like it was so amazing to see yesterday. Just like you could see if you're watching the YouTube video, my background is actually a site of it right there. But watching the rocket take off, and I love that the name was the Falcon from the Millennium Falcon too. I loved hearing that little tidbit.
The Falcon Dragon or some shit, right?
Yeah, Falcon 19, and the Dragon is actually the space shuttle, right? Like
the capsule that they're in.
Yeah. Really cool. And then they nicknamed the inside of the pod or whatever the Endeavor. That's what the two astronauts named it today. But I thought that was so cool when they were talking about it on Wednesday when I was watching, we'll call it the pregame, right? Kind of the pregame, show. But they're like, yeah, and the name is the Falcon 19 from the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. I was like, how fucking cool is that we've gotten to the point now where people like us are in their late 30s, early 40s, like we're naming this fucking rocket off of Star Wars. I was like, fucking cool, man. Fuck yeah, get in there, dude. But yeah, watching it take off, just the fury and the power of a fucking rocket ship taking off is just fucking astronomically cool, no pun intended. But then watching it get into space, and you saw that too, like the two different cameras, and like,
did you see a fucking sick picture of the flat Earth when it did?
I missed that one, which is interesting.
Oh, it showed the sick picture of the flat Earth when it went up. So just in case anyone missed that, just
so you know, if anybody wanted to challenge me on flat Earth again, obviously we saw it. So anyways.
So it was a 4K camera version of non-stop footage of the departure from Earth's exosphere. So if anyone wanted to check that out, all you flat earthers, go ahead and give it a look. Give that a look.
Yeah,
and I've heard that some flat earther actually said on social media that they used a wall-like camera. No, dumbass, the Earth is round. So that's what it looks like.
all planets are round because they have gravitational pull towards the center of them. You're like, he's like, this is very simple stuff. But anyways, no. Let's just hope this. I'm just going to say this. Did you hear about the flat earthers that paid like $20,000 to prove their theory, and they end up proving that the Earth was round during their little test? Look that up. It's really fun.
I will.
Oh,
We'll put the link to that on the comments, by the way.
Back to Space XXX. Come on, get in there, Bob.
So I got a couple of things. I got like a ton of shit to say about this.
And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for coming.
First off, if you guys don't know, I'm pushing 40. And like we're down to weeks, but
actually,
whatever.
He's pushing shit, not 40.
I don't have to push anymore. I'm super regular. It just comes out. I will tell you this though. I'm watching it with my son, which is, let's stop there. That's a fucking moment,
cool.
right?
So fucking cool.
When we were little, there's a lot of launches going on in the 80s, right? And we'd always watch it. Fuck, you'd watch it on like Channel 1 in the 90s at school. Like they had stopped school to watch the launches, right? So you'd always watch in the 80s, big production, fucking, we're the fucking best, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And we probably all remember, well, the older folks remember the Challenger in 88, I think.
Ooh.
Right? So I was in third grade watching this shit on fucking TV at school, and they're like gathered us all around, and we're all watching it, and that shit just fucking blows up and everyone's dead. I'll tell you this, dude.
I got to fact check you on that. It's 1986.
Oh, okay. So I was in first grade. Either way. So we're all sitting there watching this, and I'm watching it with my 13-year-old son. And he's just like, oh, they did it. And like after it launched, and I was like, stop.
Yeah, you're like, hold on,
right?
Hold on. No applause yet.
Right. I'm like, nope. Okay, they got into stage 2. Better.
Hold on.
Wait. Right.
Wait.
For real.
They're firing one more time. One more time.
I told my wife when they were finally in orbit and they had already detached the fucking bottom, I said, you know, I got to be honest, I've got a little bit of fucking PTSD from the Challenger. I was fucking
100%.
watching like scared for these 2 astronauts. And she's like, they must have been terrified. And I was like, well, probably, but astronauts and pilots like that, they fly like test planes and they're always putting their life in danger. So I think they probably lose that to some extent.
Yeah, and these guys are both hardcore badasses from the Air
they
Force and the Marines. These guys are seasoned vets. And I don't mean that as a
I
pun
mean,
either.
look at that guy. That's like Gene Hackman. That dude's a space vet.
I will tell you earlier in our conversation, Bob, and again, this is more for the people that are watching the YouTube video, but Bob has a background right now of the 2 astronauts, like balls deep, like into him. So he's like kind of like he's kind of like he's able to like do a group hug right now with these guys, but they seem super interested into the show, which is actually quite fun. So I like that.
So they're the first. So that's good. That's good. So a couple of
I knew it finally happened, Bob.
A couple of things of the launch past my PTSD and the special moment that I got to have with my kids. Because my toddler didn't give 2 shits about it. She's like, Dad, I'm watching my show on YouTube. Fine. All right. Beyond all of that, I was super impressed when it launched. Right? Because we used to have this crazy ignition and plumes everywhere. This thing went up clean.
It really
went up clean. And later on, I found out that it takes 1/7 of the thrust of the old space shuttle ones. 1/7. So that's why it went up so clean like that, right? So super efficient. So it went up and it was clean. The astronauts were big pimping. Big pimping. Elon Musk should get designer of the year.
I'm having a hard time right now. I've heard thrust and big pimping. I'm starting to go down that bad trail, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, these 2 astronauts were
no! Oh, baby Jesus. Oh, baby Jesus.
they were styling, and these suits are badass. I want footage of them doing a spacewalk.
Sorry to interrupt, but they were designed by a Hollywood special effects artist. Did you hear that? A costume designer and special effects artist. So these new when I saw that, I was like, whoa, dude, like space travel is just getting so fucking cool. You've got Hollywood involved with the designing of the suits, right? It's just fucking cool.
Yeah, when they got into the Tesla to like go over to the shuttle, I was just like, oh, look, those new Tesla suits are badass. Oh, those are the real suits. Oh, yeah. Sick. Yeah. So they totally look like they're right out of Hollywood. So that's on point. So big ups for that. That was aesthetics alone. And it looks like they're much more comfortable and mobile in those. So good for them. Yeah. So the whole thing was awesome. How we had the continuous 4K feed, how they had the bottom camera show its re-entry right up until stage 1, because I assume there's proprietary landing features they don't want to give away to Russia and national security reasons, to China and all that. So
China
figure out how to get SpaceX's badass landing, because if you've seen, they land these fucking bases erect. That's the whole plan to go to Mars and back.
Jesus Christ, Bob, can you settle down with the vocabulary, dude? Okay? I mean, I can only handle so much, Bob, all right?
Sorry, man. It's really hard. On another subject. So
very good, Bob. Very good.
So just the whole experience was just so badass. It reminded me of being a kid, and it literally put America back on top of the fucking space race again. We are number 1, and if you don't believe it, watch a SpaceX rocket take off with humans in it, and go watch a Russian or Chinese rocket. And just go look at it.
That's all I gotta say. Fuck yeah, America! Sorry.
On a
I had
reserved
to do
note, America.
I think I even scared my dogs upstairs. But no, absolutely fucking pumped. This is the only silver lining. And I'm not going to just say silver lining. This deserves to pop out of that silver lining, dude. This is a big fucking deal. So, goddamn, 2020 has been a roller coaster of fucking shit and piss and corn in my shit. But at the same time, this is fucking super, super inspiring. It's just great, dude. Because think about this. Think about next steps here potentially. I'm going to go out on a limb here, but this could turn into not only us being the dominant force in space exploration once more, right? There's a big race to this back in the 60s, but it also kind of paves the way for what may need to happen. And this is me kind of going way out in left field, but I don't think Earth is going to be inhabitable it can't be inhabitable by humans forever, right? Let's just say that forever. I don't know the timeline or whatever, but you do know Elon Musk's ultimate goal, right? Do you know why he got into SpaceX and created this program?
Well, it's probably the theory that Stephen Hawking had said years ago, that we can't have all of our eggs in one basket. We need to get out into space and leave the planet Earth because it's too volatile.
Yeah, because what he wants to do, knowing that, is and that's why he's so energy efficient with his cars and everything else, trying to do everything he can for planet Earth, because he thinks eventually this is not going to be habitable. We're not going to be able to live here. So he wants to be the first person to be able to put a colony of Earthlings on another planet like Mars. So he is one step closer, dude, to doing just that. So, again, maybe a long way away, but I think it is a smart move not to put all our eggs in the Earth basket.
It's a very proud day for Elon Musk. It's a very proud day for America, and
do you think he's
a very good day for humankind, really.
Do you think he's extra musky today?
I don't know. Hopefully he's like helping AE1214 with a bottle. I don't know.
Yeah, but I almost feel like they should come out with a deodorant, just be like Elon Musky, and I would buy it.
It's a Parfum de Paris. Elon Musk. The commercial just Elon.
Elon Musk.
So that about covers our SpaceX. A very proud moment for us. And if you all weren't recognizing it because you're watching, the riots and the protests and everything, take a moment to see the turn in the future and in history that's also being made for mankind, not just what's going on with our political climate and the protests and the racism and what have you in America. So be mindful of everything and stay aware out there. This is a great win for us. And I tweeted on the Stiff Truth as to thanking Elon personally for providing this moment. And this is a very big win for us in a time that we needed a win. We need any win. And this is a huge win for us. Another huge win is that a new show hit Netflix that I want to bring up called Space Force. And if you don't know anything about Space Force, it's brought to you by the director of The Office, and it stars Steve Carell. Enough said. Go watch it. Fucking fantastic. Oh, no, just to throw it in there, John Malkovich is co-star. Huh. So if you need more acting chops than that, enjoy. It's fantastic. I'm on episode 4. Fucking amazing. So
great.
Check it out, Stiffies.
I'll check it out too. I actually checked out the first episode, I think, the other night. It was pretty goddamn.
You should watch it sober. It's great.
Bob, that's a pretty tall order, dude. You know what I mean? If it's not,
so you have to watch it before 4:00 p.m. Gotcha.
Yeah, before 4:00 p.m. on the weekdays. The weekends are already fucking out.
So I know our show went a little long today, and we had no intention on kind of going the direction that we went with this show, but a lot of shit went down this week, and we would be remiss not to bring it up on our show with the platform and the viewership that we have. So we made it a quick adjustment. So thank you, Scott, for talking to me and and helping me change the plans and come up with this new show. I think that deservingly so. I do want to take the time to remind everyone that we do have the window stickers coming for you guys that want to leave a comment and a like. I will pick 5. Again, tell me why you are the stiffy that needs this decal and how you will promote our brand and make us millionaires.
But hey, that's all we're asking. It's not a very big task.
Just a few $1 million. Come on, guys.
Besides that too,
it's a passion of love.
Yeah, and I do want to, if you don't mind, I do want to give a shout out to our international listeners.
Oh yeah, forgot about those.
No, I figured you would because out of sight, out of mind, but that's okay. We were me and Bob. We were doing a little snooping around, checking the analytics, who's listening to the podcast and the podcast platforms, all that good stuff, right? And it was really fun to see that our third most listenership comes from fucking France. Out of all places, I did not think the French people would like us. That I have too much against them, but that's awesome. And then we also had a pretty decent amount from Australia and England as well. So very fucking cool that we're growing.
Merci to our Frenchmen over there. Good day, mate. To the Australians and the Englishmen.
Yeah,
that's really exciting that we do have you guys out there listening, and
but
keep it up.
Not only are they listening, they're repeat listeners too.
They are.
It looks like the Stiffies are getting across the pond and getting international. So me and Bob we're humbled by that. We thought it was pretty fucking cool. So thanks, guys.
So just to increase competition, there's a town in France there that is now our 5th most listened to city on our podcast platform. So if you guys are going to let France do that to you, by all means. But I mean, maybe
we're talking to you, California, Texas. You get in there, Colorado.
That's right. You'll let those frogs do that to you. I tell you what.
Oh, God damn it, Bob. We just lost 15% of our viewership, man.
No. We love our Frenchmen. I'm all down with goat cheese and snails. So I'm good with that. And while they're over there, did you hear what they just said? Pierre Macans!
Oh, God. And we're ending a show where we're trying to say not to be racist with pointing out funny things about ethnicities. Well, that's how we do business around the Stiff Truth, Bob. I mean, hey, again, let's give a quick shout out to our Patreon.
Oh, thank you, Todd and Shelly Jankowski, for being there for us always. You guys make the clock tick.
Yeah, literally. And I'm very excited to announce, too, that very, very soon we're going to be having at least one interview with a good friend of ours. Maybe a second coming up soon, but we're going to start that train, get that going here. So not sure if it's going to be on the next episode, not sure if it's going to be on the next, but it's going to be pretty fucking soon, Bob. How do you like that for a fucking dangler?
We're talking about the the Boss Empire. And that's the one that is coming for sure. And I am tracking down someone that's probably a little busy right now, but I won't mention any names.
Yeah, no names.
But it's a huge get for the Stiff Truth, and I will keep you guys apprised.
Absolutely, guys. Well, hey, Bob, do you have anything else you want to tell to our lovely listeners?
Well, I have plenty, but we try to keep this under the Joe Rogan experience so that you guys can actually pay attention. But I will tell you this: remember to like and subscribe. We're always chasing after subscribers, of course, because that's how we eventually might make a little bit of money off of this and provide you guys better content. But other than that, we love you all. Thank you for spending your time. You guys stay respectful of each other and stay safe out there. We're all in this together. Don't forget where we come from. Don't forget where we're trying to go.
Absolutely.
Be there for each other, and things will get better and change will happen for the positive. But other than that, thanks again for joining us today. And we will see you next week with another, Stiff Truth.
Get out there and hug and give a high five to your neighbor. All right, guys? Take care. Till next time.
See ya.